Shalom, brothers and sisters. Let's touch on just a few quick things that were interesting for me that's jumped out now in the last few days. First one is the Russian ambassador has come to the end of his tenure in the United States and exits the US with a warning of nuclear catastrophe. The Kremlin announced on Thursday that Russian ambassador Anatoly Antonov has been officially relieved of his duty after how many years? Go on, I want to give you a minute. 7 years. In the lead up to his departure, Antonov spoke with Newsweek about the troubled state of relations between Moscow and Washington, which show no sign of improving as the war in Ukraine continues and NATO doubles down on military support for Kiev amidst recent advances by the Russian military. They mistakenly believe that this catastrophe will only affect Europe and Russia, he added. This is extremely short-sighted. America will not be able to sit it out across the ocean. A global nuclear catastrophe would affect everyone. Interesting threat to be leaving with them again as he exits his time in America as ambassador after 7 years. He's removed. Usually when you remove your ambassadors, that's when war takes place. They're probably going to send a new one, but the timing is interesting for me. Putin to meet Iranian president as war rages in the Middle East. Vladimir Putin will be meeting his counterpart Masoud Pezeshkian this week amidst fears that the crisis in the Middle East threatens to spin out of control. Heads up, it's already spun out of control. Official Russian news agencies quoted presidential aide Yuri Ushakov on October the 7th, saying the two leaders will meet in the Turkmen capital Ashgabat on October 11. That's today. Now, why, I ask you, is it interesting for me that those two are meeting? Because Iran and Russia and Turkey and countries like that are part of the Gog-Magog alliance of nations that will come against Israel. And now that Iran seemingly is threatened by Israel, Russia is showing massive support to their ally and meeting to talk. Maybe telling Iran, don't worry, even if they hit your nuclear stuff, we've got more nuclear stuff. We've even given Belarus nuclear stuff. We can sort you out. We are going to complete our plan against Israel when no one expects it and the time is right. Heads up. Everyone with the Bible expects it. Sorry. Iran then warned US allies, if you help Israel, you will be next. Officials tell the Wall Street Journal that Tehran is issuing covert diplomatic warnings, threatening to target oil-rich Gulf Arab states and other US allies in the Middle East if their territories or airspace are used for attacks on Iran. Tehran is issuing these warnings in the midst of the tension with Israel. The countries threatened by Iran include Jordan, the United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, and Qatar, all of which host US troops, according to officials. These countries have communicated to the Biden admin that they do not want their military infrastructure or airspace used by the United States or Israel for offensive actions against Iran, because they are afraid of their oil being targeted. So isn't it interesting that here Biden is, between ice cream cones, trying to ensure that no one attacks Iran's nuclear capabilities or their oil. At the same time, that same Iran is threatening to attack everybody else's oil who just dares to be part of this whole situation. But it's fine. Between cones, Biden will still be defending Iran. Interesting, don't you think? Then this one was really good. And before I read it to you, let me just qualify, I do not believe this is the Antichrist. Exiled crown prince calls for peace in the Middle East and an end to the Iranian government. Now, this is interesting because this is probably what the article will look like when the Antichrist does arrive. This prince rises and he just takes everything into control and brings peace and security. Pahlavi, and we've talked about him before, he's in exile in the States, whose family was exiled from Iran following the 1979 revolution, has called for an end to the current government in Tehran and the reinstatement of democracy in the nation. After saying that Iran facilitated the October 7 attacks in Israel and fueled sectarian conflicts in countries across the Middle East, he emphasized this is not the Iranian people's war and promoted ousting the government and moving forward to regain peace. Now, he's correct. It is not the Iranian people's war. There's a lot of proof coming out of Iran that they stand against Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and his gang, and they don't agree with what's happening, but they are disempowered. They don't have the ability to stand against those who are in control. He said, so I say to you, our friends across the Middle East, he's appealing to all the Muslim Arab nations, our region deserves so much better, but in order to succeed, first this regime that has held us hostage for half a century must go. The Middle East is all too familiar with turmoil and upheaval, so I know you might fear change will bring chaos. But fear not, we will not allow a power vacuum to follow the collapse of the regime. I will step forward at their call to oversee the peaceful transition to democracy and Iran's return to the community of nations. Peace is neither a relic of history nor a distant dream. It is a promise we owe to ourselves and our children, and together we can make it a reality. Again, really, he should be a speechwriter for Antichrist when he does roll out and reveal himself. It's spot on. Yes, peace is something everyone should desire, especially for your children, and especially in the Middle East. And this is how they'll position that when the time comes. Do I think they'll wipe out Iran's regime right now and replace it with a pro-Israel friendly person, which he is? No, because I think Iran plays a big part in the Gog-Magog war to come. So that's my opinion. But interesting that it's almost like a kind of setup for what it will look like when AC steps up amidst the chaos after we're gone and brings peace and stability and settles everything for 7 years. Keep looking up. Shalom.